The Fremantle Dockers posted a crucial win over the Bulldogs to seal their spot in the 8 and potentially boot the Bulldogs out of finals. And it was the Fremantle ball movement has been such a fascination all season for you, King.
Yeah, it has. And we've constantly talked about it, and I know the feedback will come, but we just got to recognise what they were able to do today. And I just thought their ball movement at speed, they were able to get out the back, they were able to challenge a vulnerable back six. We've talked, and we'll talk about the Western Bulldogs back six in a moment. But when they play like this, all of their talent gets involved. And you end up with randomness forward of the ball. You end up with different players in advantageous positions. Murphy Reid was terrific with some of his use. This here, you're making it up on the run. The slow ball movement really means you have to kick to 2 or 3 targets only, and it's tough sledding. We saw that in the first quarter. So this was brilliant. And this is what I think finals football is. If you can't play like this, I don't think you can win.
Taking it on.
You can't defend with ball in hand and go all the way in September. I understand there are patches in games where you need to do it to kill some clock and those sorts of things, but that was brilliant today, the way they moved the ball. So when we're talking about ball movement and speed of ball movement, if you're going to go slow like they did in the first quarter, and particularly that third column there, it's basically an aggression indicator. Direction to goal, distance to goal. How far? How challenging are you? Are you coming through corridor? Are you coming quickly? So 86 to 110, quarter to quarter. You saw it. The time ball in hand didn't really change. The distances didn't really change, but the aggression was the thing that really challenged them. So their aggression in terms of direction to goal was the 3rd highest quarter for the year in that second quarter. So they played with a real damage about them, Joey. I don't know whether that's them or that's not them. I really don't.
You want them to play with more chaos.
We do, but we got no controls. They've got their hands on the controls, obviously. But I think that when they play like that, it's not just all Tracy. And Jai Amos got on the interview today. He's been missed in all of this. So when you play with freedom, you can light up. I thought it was. We showed some stuff last week, and we're not going over old ground. We're just trying to highlight the difference a simple handball receive can make. Okay, so last week on First Crack, we did this is the exact same ball. Goes to the half-back flank sort of area, and on the left, there's no give for the handball, and it becomes a kicking competition against a set Brisbane Lions defence. On the right, you'll see that he will pop the handball. So then it becomes difficult to move the ball against high-quality opposition, which is September, and they turn the ball out. That little pop handball there changes everything. Comes at speed, you get quality one-on-ones forward of the ball, you give your forwards a chance. So we're not asking for revolutionary change or looking for revolutionary change, but when you see it, you say, yes, that is terrific, and that is why they scored so heavily in that second term when they kicked, I think, 7 goals too.
Overlap makes a big difference. What about the plan to stop Sam Darcy, Joey?
Yeah, well, on the flip side, I just think still defence wins premierships, and I think we saw that from Fremantle today because their pressure was at over 190 up until 3/4 time. We mentioned during the week that had to be the case, and then I thought the leadership of Alex Pearce on Sam Darcy was enormous. He gave him no room whatsoever to get his run and jump going and his leap. It was only the second time in 2 seasons that he's gone goalless, Sam Darcy. Only had the 4 score involvements, and you could just see throughout the whole game being there, he gave him no separation, whether it was playing right on his back, whether it was playing right in front of him and pushing back. He just didn't allow Sam Darcy to run and jump. I thought Brennan Cox also did a pretty good job on Aaron Norton, and that went a long way to winning the game for Fremantle. So much of the Western Bulldogs ball has gone through those two in the back half of the season, and to take away their ability to run and jump and do what they've done so well, I thought was credit to them. And they stood up, particularly in that first quarter, when they were under siege, that back line, and they held on, weathered the storm, and then they had that powerful second and third quarter.
Hayden Young, we've talked about him as having the most important hamstring in the competition. They pulled the trigger. He played today. What did you make of him?
Yeah, you can just see the difference in the class. He only played 65% game time, but what he was able to do was really impact in that time. 16 disposals, 11 of them contested, 5 score involvements. But what was more important with his 6 clearances, 3 of them led to scores. So there were only 3 players this round that had more scores from their clearance wins. That was Luke Parker, Luke Davies-Uniacke and Tom Green over the weekend. So just to have him back in there. I think the chemistry with Sean Darcy, who continues to get better and better as this season's gone on. The leg drive that you love, King, you get out of trouble. And I just thought it helped out Caleb Serong, who was struggling early.
Yeah.
And when he was struggling early, it was Hayden Young that stepped up early. And then as the game went on, Caleb Serong came into his own.
If he wasn't there in the first quarter, they're in awful trouble.
Yep.
Awful trouble. 6 disposals, and he got through. I mean, we're all just... watching and waiting and hoping that he could just get through, Joe. So I think he played 70% odd of ground time, which is just perfect.
There was a nervous moment, however, involving the star Caleb Serong. It was so important in that second quarter fight back for Fremantle. You see the bump here. Now, I think he will be okay, but this will be reviewed tomorrow afternoon by the match review officer, Michael Christian. Now, you slow it down. That's Jordan Croft. He comes down and clearly bumps him in the side of the head. Now, I think that is a genuine play on the ball. He almost gets to the footy first. You'd love to see that other camera angle. I don't feel like he has a concern there. We also know he's a major Brownlow medal threat. So, for me, that is all clear, but they will assess it tomorrow. Do you guys have a view on that one?
No, I would have thought every day of the week that's just contesting the ball and it's incidental contact. I suppose what has created is the Stephen May verdict, and whether some people now will argue, well, what did Stephen May do compared to Caleb Serong? Why is it different? And that's why it's still, there is still this little bit of grey area. But for me, as you said, he's contesting the ball there. That's his only intent. I'd be shocked if he got suspended.
He is low over the footy.
Yeah, no, I agree with all points, but are we going to be asking these players to do something different going forward, do you think? Or is this just part of the risk you take playing our game?
So I reckon as soon as you get into this issue, and we discussed it with the May verdict, where you're hesitating or slowing or stopping before you get the ball in case the other person gets there first and puts their head in the hole, then I think you take that. That's tearing at the fabric of the game. That, for me, is one of the best ball players in the competition, going low and hard for the footy and gets there, if not simultaneously, then before Croft anyway. So I think that's play on, but there is always a degree of uncertainty with these match review incidents. So it will be one to watch, probably Fremantle's second most important player.
What's your first crack? Where are you going with yours?
Yes, my first crack is the fallout for the Dogs, because this will be an unusual couple of days at the kennel because they're still in the mix technically. They've got to train on Tuesday. Can you imagine how flat they'll be for that, waiting for Essendon hopefully to upset Gold Coast on Wednesday night. But there's going to be some really big discussions and decisions, and one of the first few will be regarding Jamara Ugle-Hagan, who won't play for the red, white and blue again. Right, his career is over. The football club are in a process at the moment where it's a bit of a holding pattern. They'll assess any trade interest in the hope that another club might dangle a third or fourth round pick, which I think is unlikely. And if that is the case, if there is no interest, and that's what the market is suggesting at the moment, then I think they'll be in a position, the Western Bulldogs, where they just pay Jamara out. They rip up his contract. They give him, say, half or three quarters of his contract, which is about $800,000 next year. So you might pay him $500,000, and then his career at the kennel is effectively over. Now, that's a huge loss for a club. A number one pick, we know he's prodigiously talented, 40 goals, but I think it's become such a schmozzle, such a mess, such a distraction for the football club this year that I think they're going to move on. And we saw a man today who showed some glimpses. This is the Jamara Ugle-Hagan direct replacement, because Jordan Croft had some moments today. We'll bring up some vision of his match where he looked like a very exciting talent. He's got a huge tank, and aerially we just saw some things where he was fantastic. So the Bulldogs are very excited about him, and he can play that wing half forward role. That was a great mark there, essentially, for Jamara. So they might dangle the carrot a little bit.
Why can't he play half back? Why can't he play half back where he has trained at half back during last pre-season? We talked about him early in the year. We haven't cited him at all. They're desperate for an interceptor down there, and they just refuse to look at that role.
And that's the biggest issue facing the kennel, because, as you've said, Kingy, they're not going to raise the cup or probably get anywhere near until they improve that defensive performance. Never been more obvious than today as Tracy, Jackson, Amos and even Voss really dominated the airways, completely beat Rory Lobb. So they need to make a priority to go and get some quality established defenders, or at least one in Jack Silvani, if not Noah Bolter, potentially Nick Voston from Richmond. They'll be looking at that. Has to be the priority. Or does Luke Beveridge change his system to make the best of what he's got? He was asked about this question in his press conference earlier.
Definitely at times the opposition key forwards have got a hold of us, so it is an area that we need to continue to focus on to improve and work with our current players who play there, and but perhaps look at whether or not there's an opportunity in the market there.
Said it a few weeks ago, Sam Power is the most important Western Bulldogs employee right now, and he has to get busy because they've got a massive issue behind the footy one-on-one. They get mauled by the best, and not even the best. guys that are more than competitive. So they're 18th in defensive one-on-ones, so they have to maybe minimise the opportunities for the opposition to go inside. As soon as you start doing that, I think you're giving up something. This competition, it is so hard to win in September, you can't be giving up too much of what you've got. You can't be holding back your assets, your strengths, to cater for something else. It is such a balancing act. Today they're involved in 18 one-on-ones. That's the most they've been involved in all year defensively. And that's strategy from Fremantle, so tick to them. But this is exposing the chasm between the competition and the Western Bulldogs. Rory Lobb was a problem. He's much a problem and hasn't had a great year down back. I think they're still living in the 2024 version of Rory Lobb. He was involved in 6 one-on-ones and lost 4 of them. That's a mauling. So I just think that this is something that's so obvious for everyone to see. Luke sees it, but a full club, premiership's won by a full club. You've got to get everything right, and Sam Powell now becomes the most important man.
Devil's advocate, can he change his coaching? Can he change the system?
No, give him some talent. Get talent.
Get more men back, because they are a forward-running team. They are an offensively styled team. Do they just become more defensive in their style and their coaching and their game plan?
Yeah, but that gives up so much of what they're good at. It gives up so much of their point of difference to do that. We've talked about Norton going back and all sorts of things. So they've got to address this, or they'll just live in this bracket of the table.
It's a disappointment if they don't play finals with the talent and team they have got. They'll be unhappy with that result, the Western Bulldogs.